Smritipurananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bhed Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Gukarastvo Andhakaro Vai Rukarastvo Nivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Vidhiyate Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Ahamasmi sadabhami kadachit nahamapriyaha brahmaeva aham ahata siddham satchidananda lakshanam. So we are in the middle of a kind of a introduction to the basic principles of Vedanta. Prior to taking up a text which we will start soon, which will be the Mandukya with Karika, Gaudapada's Karika, as we have been announcing it. So in, I think, a few weeks, we will start that. And but before that, let us consolidate some of the base principles of the Brahma Vidya. So in a sense, a quick revision would be always useful. So this is what is called Simha Avalokana Nyaya. Simha Avalokana Nyaya. But I talked about this a few classes ago. So what that means is that Simha means a lion. So what the lion does is, even though he's the most powerful animal in the jungle, but still when he moves, every now and then he looks back. It's a very, very interesting thing. So he's not just blindfolded, just looking in one direction. What that means is the lion is fully aware at all points on the surrounding and where he's proceeding. Just makes sense. He doesn't take anything for granted. This is his buddhi Bhagwan has given him. So Swami Akhandananda says that the students of Vedanta also should be doing the same thing. It should not be called repetition. It's something more than that. It means connecting what has gone before with what is going to be talked about now. So you have a more comprehensive view of what it is that we are doing and what should we be learning. This is a very, very sophisticated knowledge, and it requires pausing, reflecting, connecting both previously versus the future. Requires a lot of contemplation, a lot of analysis. It's not something very simple. So that's what's called Simha Avaloka Nyaya. So I take that opportunity to do a little bit of that as we proceed along in this advanced introduction to Vedanta. So if you recall, we started this last segment by defining Vedas. So the Veda means knowledge. And Veda knowledge means apaurushaya jnanam, which is exactly our main topic that we are examining. Apaurushaya jnanam. Apaurushaya means na purushajanya, means it is something which is already there in the whole creation. It's not everybody is born into it. They don't create it. Knowledge is not created. It is only discovered. So this is the apaurushaya jnanam, and that is what is called Veda. So the Veda means jnanam. Furthermore, interestingly enough, as we saw, I'm just revising that part of it, the principal understanding of this apaurushaya jnanam is from Upanishad. That is the Shirobhava of Vedas. Shirobhava means that it is the head of the Vedas. If the Vedas to be taken as a body, and it has all different aspects to it. It has karma and bhakti and upasana, etc., preparation. But just like a body, the most important part of the body is the head. That head of the Vedas is Upanishad. So it's very interesting. Now we should see this. What does Upanishad mean? So Upanishad means it has a main dhatu, a main meaning, preceded by two prefixes, upa and ni. So the dhatu is contained in shad. So it has 3 or 4 different aspects of it, but it means knowledge. So that is the essence of the Veda, which is knowledge, shad. The 2 prefixes are very important. They are really, they point to the direction of apaurushaya jnana. So what does it mean? The word upa means vyavadhana rahita, as Swami Akhandananda ji has pointed out in great detail. Vyavadhana rahita. This is very significant. This is what we have to really understand. Vyavadhana rahita means without any separation. Continuous means, vyavadhana means interruption, changes, segmentation, etc. Vyavadhana rahita means devoid of that, continuous. So this is called upa. Ni means, ni generally our acharyas have done it as nishchaya, means definitely, which is also one of the, it is correctly defined. But in the context of this explanation of Upanishad, ni here means sampurna. So please remember these things. We are going to point out to it as we analyze the word Upanishad. So now I can add another explanation, now that we combine together an explanation of the meaning of Upanishad. Are you ready for it? This may appear as a surprise to you. Upanishad means you. So you'll say, what? What are you talking about? Upanishad means, Taittiriya Upanishad, Ishavasya Upanishad, book. No. Upanishad means you, the Atma. Because, like this verse that we start with each class with, Ahamasmi sadabhami kadachit naham apriyaha brahma eva aham atassiddham satchidananda lakshanam. Like that verse, Upanishad means the one who is continuous. What is continuous? As we have been studying and will continue to do that, is apaurusheya jnanam. And what does apaurusheya jnanam means? It means you, the Atma, in the form of knowledge. Not any particular knowledge, but the very content of all knowledge is knowledge. And continuous knowledge. I am. I know. Continuous. Non-interrupted. Non-interruptible. This is what we have to see. This is what the Sakshi is. Vyavadhana rahita. And then the word ni, meaning complete, is very obvious, because this is what is Satsvarupa. Satsvarupa means always there, continuous. Because Sat cannot be separate. It cannot be in parts. There can only be one Sat. There cannot be multiple Sats. Yes, you can have copies of Sat. But copies of Sat is not Sat. There's only one original. That is the jnanam, the apaurusheya jnanam. And it's complete in the sense that you cannot have another Sat. So this is exactly what our goal is in life. That we look upon others as also true. And this exactly creates the issue. This is where the problem is. That I take myself as a person who's viewing other things. So your satta, your sat, your truth, your ability to say this is real, this is me, is false, but just as false and just as true as the things you see around you. You see? So both the knower and the known are a sat. This is what Vyavaharika Sat is. So that is not Sat. Sat means one which is always true. Vyavadhana Rahita. So therefore, we can now conclude from this that the word Upanishad, Upanishad or Upanishad, can be done either way, is the lakshana of you. And anything that clarifies that, anything that helps you in the analysis of who you are, like a mirror, or like someone, a voice that tells who you are, like the 10th man. There was a voice. In the 10th man, there was not a mirror, but there was a voice of an Apta Purusha, which says, you forgot to count yourself, you are it. So even in that case, the voice or the mirror simply allows you to see who you are. And so Upanishad, the texts that you study, are simply a mirror or a voice. That is not the true meaning of Upanishad. The true meaning of Upanishad is Apaurushaya Jnanam, which is the same as the Atma. So this is how we began. And then, of course, we all say, really? I mean, I want to understand and believe you, but I don't know. So there, the Shastra, the Shruti does not just leave you, just say, you're the big guy and so on, and okay, bye. No. It convinces you why you are the Upanishads, why you are the Apaurushaya Jnanam. It says, think about it, analyze it, put your best buddhi into it, because you're so covered with Brahma and Ajnanam. It's kind of like there's so many clouds that are hiding the sun. The fog in the clouds have to be slowly reduced. That doesn't mean that it is not true already. So that was our, now we can go on to the revision of all these aspects of Apaurushaya Jnanam. So the first one we saw was exactly what? Svatapramanyam. Svatapramana means that one of the aspects of the Apaurushaya Jnanam is, it's two very beautiful things about the Apaurushaya Jnanam. I mean about the Svatapramanam. two very beautiful things about Swata Pramana. One is that itself it doesn't need a proof. And the second is nothing can be proven without it. Proven means the very taking of things as they are. Looking at the world and saying, yes, that is, these things will happen. All these transactions of the mind are not possible without the jnana. And the jnana itself does not require a proof. So what a beautiful thing. Itself it doesn't require a proof, and instead nothing is proven until you are there, until that jnanam is there. This has to be seen. Has to be almost meditated on, the truth of it. So here nididhyasanam, meditation, etc. simply means, as you know, I'm not giving you anything new, is not an independent meditation. You know, a lot of the time I meet people and, you know, who are actually doing meditation, and they ask you, do you meditate? How long do you meditate? And what do you do? What form? And so on. So what can you tell them? You cannot. In the case of meditation in Vedanta, nididhyasanam, it is jnana purvakam meditation. You have to know the steps involved by understanding yourself. And if that is not clear, then you meditate on it. You think about it. You do mananam on it. Contemplate on it. So I think listening is one thing, then contemplating is a very beautiful thing. Then meditating on the contemplation is adds another layer to it. So this has to be done. Swata pramana, one has to really do mananam on it. So it has to be jnana purvakam meditation. You cannot discuss that with simple social contacts and so on. So what if somebody asks me, I will tell them, yes, I meditate. I feel good about it in the morning. It quietens the mind down. It's not what it is. It's something much more than that. It's the absorption into the own reality of oneself. So this was the first point that we saw. Then the second point we saw was, it is, number 2, was that it is swayam jyotihi, this jnanam, is self-lighted. So there we saw the example that it is not based on the person. The truth is not based on the person who is looking. It is based on the vastu that it is. Isn't it? We remember that example that we saw in last class, that if a stump of tree, or you can take the same thing example with a rope and snake, etc. But just for change, we use the stump of a tree. So the stump of a tree can be taken to be anything. But it is what it is. You cannot take it to be something else than it is. If you take it to be exactly what it is, good. And you know, I think that this is very interesting, that if we really study the various spiritual disciplines in the people, in the world. They are all trying to understand the same vastu. Really, I'm really just thinking more about it. You look at the views of Buddhism, and yes, we have variations, and people, there's always some aspects of it that doesn't appear to be true. Like, for example, some of the Buddhists, like what is called Shunyavadins. Shunyavadin means in the end there is nothing but void. But we don't accept that. It is just the opposite of that. But what I'm saying is that the vastu that they are looking at is all the same. So whether you have Islam, if you look at the songs in Islam, the Sufi songs and so on, it also pretty much points to the same thing. That, hey, Allah, you're very close to me. You're not far. It's true, the self is the closest thing there is. So the words may differ a little bit, but the vastu remains the same. Christ consciousness. Ultimately, it all comes to how the self of the person. Jainism, Buddhism, everything, it's all the same vastu. Swadasiddha, Swadapramanya, Swayam Jyotihi. So there we saw that the truth is Vastu Tantra, natu Purusha Tantra. So in a way, it's so beautiful that everybody is looking at this Vastu, and the self is the same for everybody. Anyway, so that was point number 2 about Apaurusheya Jnana. So now let's go on and take the next few steps. So the next one is Jnanam, this Apaurusheya Jnanam, is Kalataha Aparichinnaha. Means that this Jnanam is not limited by time. Not influenced by time. It is in fact the very basis of the time. So just like, for example, the gold is not affected by its ornamentation, it always remains the same. The metal of any ornament, it remains independent of that. Similarly here also, the Jnanam Kalataha Aparichinnaha. Kalataha means, this is in the 5th case, tasil, so means from the standpoint of Kala. Kala means time. Aparichinnaha. Parichinna means which is limited, and aparichinna means unlimited. So like, for example, the space is not limited by a vessel or a room. Room space does not limit space. It's a different level altogether. So similarly, Jnanam is Kalataha Aparichinnam. Kala is there because you require it for the Srishti. but it doesn't limit its own cause. So let's look at that. So when we think in terms of time, like the past or the future, it appears that time has some peculiarities, some qualities. So when you say, when I was young, at that time, or you can say when we were growing up, we often talk about it to, some of the people and say how we have seen such a change in time. Really, but when I came to the US, how life was, how families were, it was a completely different setup than what it is now. So that is the past. And so now then we think about the present, of course, what is going on, and also the future with Chat GPT, more mechanization, and we don't know how it will be. Everybody tries to make a guess. So there is a future time. There's a past time. So you say the past knowledge, future, because all this is the very whole idea of the time is in terms of your own thoughts, your awareness, the past awareness, future awareness, present awareness. And it appears that each one of these qualities or segments starts and ends. So at this point, everything is past. And so the past ends at the present. Then it becomes the future. So it appears that there are changes and limits to time. So the question is that these changes, like for example, moments, Swami Dayananda used to do this analysis and meditation. I remember he'll say, okay, let's just define what is present. So the present also is a thought. Because you can say, like for example, we're having a class, an hour and say 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. So this is the present time of the class. But the present time of the class, an hour and 15 minutes, is that an unchangeable composite segment? No. Because already we have done half hour. So half hour of the present has now become past. And so this is all changeable. They're momentary. The Swami Dayananda used to say, so what is present? So you can say, well, you can divide the 1 hour into 60 minutes. The present minute. This is the present. Okay. All right. You chose that. This is your thought. This is your thinking. That 1 minute is the present. Let's just define the present as 1 minute. Really? A minute is a long time. There also there is segmentation. As minute is going by, then it all feels very different. Which was the scientist that said that if you are standing bare feet on a hot plate, then 1 minute seems like eternity. Similarly, time passes when you're having fun. So these are all very, very subjective about time. So anyway, to combine all that, Swami Dayanand used to say, so what is the present? How do you define the present? You can't until you see that the present is unchanging, continuous, vyavadhana rahita. So this is what we will arrive at with some more analysis, but let's continue with this analysis. So the point is that the time as viewed by individuals, is it momentary? Does it have parts to it, some qualities to it, or doesn't it? So in the Vedantic terms, the next question is kalam, kalaha, time. Is it niravayava or savayava? Niravayava means without any parts. Because that's very obvious. Because niravayava means that you cannot take out chunks of it. You cannot objectify it. Avayava means parts. So you cannot say that it has some very definite parts to it. So this is the very definition of mithya. Because so you cannot say it is not there at all. That also you cannot say. Because there is a past with respect to the present, and the present becomes the part, it becomes a bigger past. So there is something to it, but it's not quantifiable. So you can say that it is niravayava. And so the niravayava means that it is mithya. And the mithya, of course, means that it must depend on some satyam. There is no mithya without satyam. Many times the other schools of thought criticize Vedanta. You'll see that in writings and so on. That these guys are mithyavadis. They just say everything is mithya, everything is mithya. Everything is not mithya. It is all real. How can you say it is mithya? So these guys, don't listen to them. They are mithyavadis. Swami Dayanand used to say, we are not mithyavadis. My dear, we are Brahmavadins. How? Because we don't say anything is mithya means that it doesn't exist, as some of the Buddhists might say. We don't say that. We're saying what appears to be mithya is nothing but Brahman. It is nothing but Paurusheya Jnanam. So when you say time, and it doesn't have any chunks in it, so the time itself also is nothing but jnanam. So if you look at from the standpoint of niravayavatvam, from the standpoint of not having individual parts and chunks, then it is also nothing but jnanam, isn't it? It is just a soft quality. See, just like a particular ornament is a soft quality of gold. Soft quality means that there is something there, but it doesn't really have the hard existence that the material does. Material is the one that has a particular weight and a shine, whereas the things that are depending on it kind of have a shape and weight and so on, but they all borrow it from it. So it has a soft landing, not landing, but a soft reality to it. So Niravayava means that it is really nothing but jnana. Then you say, no, it is not Niravayava, it is Savayava. Means that it actually has parts. All right, if that is the case, supposing we go into that, the second part of it, that supposing you say that it has parts, I can see it, it is objectified. All right, in that case, you cannot objectify anything until you are the Sakshi. You cannot say, yes, I saw that room was divided into a sofa there and a chair there and a television there. Okay, fine, I understand, you're accurate. But I'm talking about you. The whole analysis is about you. So if time is Savayava, so then also you are the Sakshi. It doesn't affect you. You see, the whole idea is Jnanam kalataha aparichinnaha. It doesn't affect you. So we saw, okay, let us see how it doesn't affect you. If it is Niravayava, then it is you. It doesn't affect you. Like a golden ornament does not affect the gold. Or supposing it is Savayava, there also it cannot affect you because you are the very Sakshi of it. What is the Sakshi of something does not affect what it is seeing. So what it really means is jnanam, if you just analyze it, is independent of time. So this is what is called upa vyavadhana rahita. You see this? See this clearly. You are vyavadhana rahita. You are continuous, uninterrupted. The time resides in you. And like a dream, it has some relevance if you look upon yourself as a Jivatma. So you see this? This is very interesting. That time, the gradation of time is very specific to an individual. Very specific. Our worldly time is specific to a particular situation, a person. By itself has no specificity. It is not as though it is not there. And to further underscore this, again we need to bring in the examples of a dream. So in a dream you actually may have a past. In the dream you may have a long time. I remember I recently had a dream. You know, once in a while when you're waking up from a dream, you're just fresh about it. Usually one does not. At least I don't remember most of my dreams. But once in a while, so I remember waking up from a dream. All these dreams are very funny dreams. So I used to work with a very senior manager at Hewlett Packard. Bill Riccion was his name. And unfortunately, he has passed away just in the last 2-3 years. But he was, I used to work with him from a distance for a while. And then I proposed some ideas for implementation that he liked it so much so that he sponsored those. And he himself was the vice president of sales, of all computer sales in the US. And then he asked me to join him in his department. So I became his senior staff. And all the other people were all regional directors and vice presidents and so on. And I was kind of like a theoretical person sitting next to him. But he took a liking to me, and then I was on his staff for a long time. So he was a very powerful person, Bill Riccion. So I had a dream about him the other day. I've not seen him for 23 years. He has passed away 3-4 years ago. Hardly ever saw him after that. I mean, even before that. But it was a very clear dream. And the dream was that he is lying down as though nobody is talking to him, because it was really true. He had a very gruff personality. A lot of the people didn't like him. But I went along with him very nicely. We had a good relationship. So this dream was this person is lying down. And I'm asking him, can I bring you some water? Are you okay? Are you feeling cold? How long have you been lying here? So he was supplying, oh, and that's okay. I just came here. It was not too long ago. So look at this. I'm talking about time. How long ago? How long have you been doing? All of that and it was a very real dream in the sense that I could talk to him and so on and so forth. Just a little segment. Now the rest of it I don't remember. But the point is that there was a dream time which looked very relevant. But is there any real dream time? There's no time when you wake up. It was dream time, a superimposition. And by the way, I would like to just make one, I was thinking about it when I was preparing my notes. Let's see if I have it. Yeah. So I thought I would make this point, that suppose you have a dream like the one I was just describing, and you wake up from it. The question is the dream time dissolve into waking time or not? I think that's the question. The dream experience, does that, when it goes away, when the dream is over and you wake up, does it dissolve into the waking experience? And it appears that it does. But in reality, it does not. So why are we even asking this question? Why are we discussing it? Because this is what is going to be looked at in more detail in the Mandukya Upanishad. The reason we are looking at it is that the thinking that somehow there is a sequential relationship where the dream dissolves into waking, and waking hopefully will dissolve into moksha. This is our thinking. This is not true, by the way. This is not true. Then what is true? What is true is this is not sequential, but it is in parallel. What do you mean by not sequential? It is in parallel. This is what it means. The dream experience does not dissolve into waking experience, it dissolves into apaurushaya jnanam. So the dream experience, if I can just do it by hand, the dream experience of open hand means that there's a real experience, there's a real dream, not a real dream, but a dream, the dream experience. When it dissolves, what remains is apaurushaya jnanam. Then the waking experience comes up. When that dissolves, hopefully, it will be in fact, not hopefully, when that dissolves, it goes into apaurushaya jnanam. So in parallel means that there are two phenomena that independently exist and they actually mutually exclude each other. This is very significant. So so it's something like this. When the dream is there, the Jagrat is not there. When Jagrat is there, dream is not there. And Sushupti, both are not there, but there is something already there, which is Ajnanam. And then finally it dissolves into apaurushaya jnanam. So all I'm saying is through this exercise, this is on the side, this is nothing endemic to the main topic, that really speaking, when the dream time goes, what remains is timeless apaurushaya jnanam. But then the timeless apaurushaya jnanam has no rest, because as soon as the dream finishes, there is another experience that goes on. So you're always flitting back and forth. We've talked about this as kind of like, a big star working on multiple movies at the same time. Then you go to the movie number one during the day. This is what I'm told in Hollywood and in Bollywood, at least in Bollywood, I don't know about Hollywood. In Bollywood, they are so popular that somebody would have a morning devoted to film number one, then they change their clothes and they redo the script, and then they appear in the second one. This is how much money they make. 2 movies simultaneously being done in one day. This is exactly what we are doing. We are busy with 2 different movies and go back and forth. But the very truth of both of these experiences is nothing but apaurushaya jnana. So therefore we can now you see, that's another definition. We already did this analysis before. What is the definition of mithya? So the definition of mithya is complete and accurate if it means that a vastu, here the vastu is a dream vastu, or any ornamentation and so on, arises from the same adhisthana. Adhisthana means the basis, like gold is the adhisthana for ornaments. So if something arises from an adhisthana and goes back to the same adhisthana, then that is mithya. If the advent of something and the demise of something is due to the same basis, then something which arises or goes away is called mithya. So therefore we can say, and the adhisthana is not mithya. As we were saying, as Swami Dayanand used to say, we are not mithyavadins. We are only talking about the world as being mithya, but I am not mithya. I am the same continuous vastu, vyavadhana rahitaha. This is the nature of the self, the Sat Swarupa. See this for yourself. It is not just a talk. You should see this is what Upanishad teaching is, Upanishadic teaching is. See that yourself is Sat Swarupa. Sat Swarupa means always there. Is there any break in it? Is there any vyavadhana? There cannot be. This is the truth. You are the Sat Swarupa. You are not affected by any time. Yes, you as a jiva, for a partial segment of the day, is affected by time. And for a partial segment of the night, you are affected by a different time scale. See how mithya, how unreal this is? You operate in one time scale in one portion of the day, another time scale in another portion of the day, night, and no time scale in certain parts of the night, in deep sleep. But you, the jnanam, I'm actually working hard to avoid the word consciousness. The new word that I have really just adopted, I'm happy I finally did, is jnanam. You can call it the Sakshi, you can call it the Atma, you can call it Paramatma. It is the Paramatma actually. But you, the jnanam, is the adhisthana for all these assumed time scales. One time scale at one time, another time scale at something else. Funny time scales. And these funny time scales depend upon you as a jiva. But you as the jnanam is independent of these funny time scales. You have nothing to do with it. As long as you think you are, you will remain, no, I am the jiva. Okay, then you are tied to a particular time scale. And you may have to repeat it after this life. But fundamentally, you are the Upanishad. Vyavadhana rahita. And you're also Purnaha. See what Purnatva means in this context. So Purnatva means an accurate definition of Sat. What do you mean by an accurate definition of Sat? A definition of Sat, by nature accurate, means always the same, at all times the same, at all places the same. What it means is there cannot be two Sats. It's not limited. Sat cannot be limited. There's no conditions to Sat. Conditionality violates the very definition of Sat. Satchidananda Lakshanam. So the Sat Swarupaha, by definition, must be Purnaha. So Upanishad means, first of all, Vyavadhana Rahitaha, then Purnaha, complete. That means anything that you see is also nothing but you. Sat Swarupa. And in the start you see this. You cannot see anything unless you are there. Don't you see this? And if you say, no, there are things going on that I am not present. I'm not talking about you as a jiva. I'm talking about you as the jnanam, as Brahman. Whenever there is any experience in life, you are there. So that means it is Vyavadhana Rahita. You are uninterrupted. Uninterrupted. Always there. See this. So the word, the prefix ni refers to Advaita. Dvaita Rahita. Upa means Vyavadhana Rahita and ni means Dvaita Rahita. Jnanam. You are the very Jnanam. See this? And you say, no, I cannot be. I'm not continuous. If you're not continuous because you look upon yourself as a jiva, don't look upon yourself as a jiva. You may if you want to, but for transactional purposes, but not from the standpoint of truth. There you are, Vyavadhana Rahita, Dvaita Rahita, Advaita. This is the meaning of the word Upanishad. This is what Apaurushaya Jnanam is. This is Brahman. There's only one Jnanam, devoid of time. And as we will see in the next class, devoid of space. So number 4 that we will study next time will be Deshataha Parichinnaha. Very similar analysis with a few new points that will come up. So we have now covered 3 out of the several that we are going to do. And so we will do this in the next class. And the next class is not next Saturday, which is the 19th. Because I think you may have seen my, hopefully you saw the WhatsApp where Swami Satchidananda, a very bright new Swami from India, has been invited by Swami Dayanandji, by Swami Viditapanandaji, sorry. And he studied with Swami Dayananda also. And so he has the same sampradaya as us. So he'll be giving 3 classes starting next Friday morning on Ashtavakra Gita and then continuing on next Saturday. So I will not have a class next Saturday, but 2 weeks from today, we will rejoin this analysis of Apaurushaya Jnanam with the 4th aspect of it, which is Deshataha Parichinna. Okay, so with that, let me close the class today. Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Continuing on next Saturday. So, Arvind, your question about would you please elaborate on Vastu Tantra? So, Vastu Tantra means that a view which is specific to a Vastu that you are objectifying. So, again, the same analysis that we did before, that if you were to look at a rope but make a mistake about it through poor lighting or anything like that, and you look upon it as maybe a garland or a hose or a snake or anything like that. So that view which is erroneous is not Vastu specific. It is based on the Purusha that is viewing it. Depending upon your background, you may look upon it differently. But a Vastu Tantra means that it is really not a mala or a hose or a snake. It is really a rope. So the reality of seeing something as it is what is called Vastu Tantra. Okay, so this is a new name that I'm not familiar with, Chiranjeevi Rapolu. Welcome. So could you please include me in the WhatsApp group? If you could please send me an email, Vijay Kapoor, VIJAYKAPOOR @gmail.com. Then I'll send you instructions to do that. So then you had a question. If Atma is indivisible, how is this little Jivatma got separated and wants to merge back? So it is first of all, so the answer to that is just ignorance. Just ignorance, that's all. It doesn't realize that it is the same. And once it realizes it was always the same, it was already nothing but Paramatma and Atma alone, but just didn't see it, that's all. So that's the short answer for it. Okay, good. I'll wait to hear from you. All right, very good to see you all. And if there's no further questions, then I will take your leave and we'll see you 2 weeks from today. I'm also going to introduce Swami Sachidananda on Friday morning. So if you are there, then I will see you then. Okay? Hari Om.